Hey friends, welcome to the Stratonea Podcast. This show is all about strategy, entrepreneurship, and smart business thinking, especially for African founders and professionals. I share lessons, tips, and insights from years of building businesses, and if you want to grow smarter and run better businesses, this is your podcast. Today, we will be diving into our blog post. All right, let's jump right in. So you've got this great idea, you build your business, maybe starting small, just you. But pretty quickly, if things go well, you need help. You hire that first person, could be part-time, maybe sales, maybe production, and boom, just like that, you're suddenly wearing a new hat. HR manager kind of sneaks up on you. And managing people, especially as a small business owner here in Ghana, well, it brings its own challenges, doesn't it? Finding the right skills, especially when money's tight, figuring out wages you can actually afford, keeping folks motivated beyond the paycheck, and then, yeah, trying to navigate the local labor laws. It can honestly feel like a whole separate job sometimes.
It really can. And, what's often missed is that HR, human resources, it isn't just for the huge corporations with massive departments. For a small business owner, it really boils down to just developing a few basic, consistent habits. We've been looking at this guide, one made specifically for Ghanaian SMEs, really a practical resource. It's designed to help business owners, maybe like you listening, just get those basics right. Things like how to hire well, manage your team effectively, and, crucially, stay compliant with the law here in Ghana. So our mission today is really to pull out the most important nuggets from this guide, give you a clear way forward.
Okay, so the message isn't really about building some giant complex HR machine, but more about adopting smart, simple practices from the get-go.
Precisely. Think of it less like adding bureaucracy and more like setting up a practical supportive framework, a structure that helps your team do well, but also, importantly, protects your business as it grows.
I like that framing framework, not burden. Because honestly, when you're juggling everything, HR can feel like just another task. But focusing on these basics, what are the actual benefits? What does the source material say are the real-world upsides for a Ghanaian SME?
Well, when you connect it back to the bigger picture, building a sustainable business, these simple habits offer pretty significant returns. The guide highlights a few key ones. First, and maybe the most immediate impact, is improved productivity. It's kind of common sense, isn't it? If roles are clear, if people know what's expected, if you give feedback, they just perform better. Less confusion, less wasted time.
Yeah, that clarity sounds like it would directly impact the next point mentioned, reduced risk.
Oh, absolutely. This is huge. And honestly, something many SMEs learn the hard way, unfortunately. Understanding and, sticking to basic labor laws is just non-negotiable. It's your main defense against, well, costly disputes, potential fines, or legal stuff that can totally sink a small business. It's about being safe, being compliant.
Right, staying out of trouble.
Which then leads naturally to better staff retention. Finding good people, training them, it costs time and money, especially if certain skills are hard to find. When you treat employees fairly, respectfully, give them that clear structure, they're much more likely to stick around. Loyalty comes from good practice, and cutting down on staff turnover saves a lot of hassle and cost.
And that, I guess, helps build a stronger business reputation too. Like being known as a decent employer must attract better people later on.
Exactly right. It becomes this positive cycle. Good stuff happening inside reflects well outside. And finally, getting these things right early on creates a solid foundation for growth. Trying to scale up when your people management is chaotic, that's incredibly tough. Starting with a clear framework makes adding people and processes way smoother later.
Okay, so it's definitely not just box ticking, it's strategic. It makes the whole framework idea much more compelling. Let's get practical then. The guide talks about these tools or habits. Tool number one is the hiring habit. Basically, how do you find and pick the right people for your team here in Ghana?
Right. The absolute starting point, the foundation for this, is knowing exactly what you need. You can't find the right person if you haven't clearly defined the role first.
Seems obvious, but I bet it's easy to skip when you're just desperate for an extra pair of hands.
It really is. So the guide suggests some very practical, actionable steps. Before you even think about an ad, sit down. List the top 3 to 5 essential tasks. What must this person be able to do? Then define the key skills or qualities. Be specific. Not just smart, maybe good with numbers or learns quickly. Yeah, if they deal with customers, is friendly and patient essential? Do they need basic computer skills or experience with a particular tool? And importantly, figure out realistic working hours and the salary you can genuinely afford.
Writing it down forces you to be clear. The guide had that example, right?
Yeah.
Appiah with her frozen food shop in Tama.
Yes, that's a perfect, simple illustration. Appiah didn't need a fancy corporate job description. She needed an assistant, so she just listed the core things. stock freezers, serve customers, keep records. Simple, and for qualities. Must be friendly and know how to use WhatsApp. That last bit, knowing WhatsApp, sounds small, but it's crucial for communication, maybe basic orders. That focus helped her find the right person.
Okay, makes sense. Define the need first. Then, how do you actually find people without breaking the bank? The simple recruitment steps.
Yeah, efficiency is key here. The guide really pushes starting with your network. Ask trusted friends, family, other local business owners, do they know anyone suitable who's looking? Referrals are often gold. Beyond that, basic targeted ads work. Think local notice boards, community WhatsApp groups that are relevant, or simple posts on online platforms popular in Ghana for those kinds of jobs. The key in any ad is clarity. State the main duties, the must-have skills, the location, like if you're in Kumasi, say Kumasi, and clear instructions on how to apply. Keep it simple.
So leverage who you know and be super direct in your ads.
Got it. Okay, applications roll in. How do you interview effectively? Move from a pile of names to the right choice.
Right. This is where you go beyond just a casual chat. You need to systematically assess. Can they do the job? And are they the right fit for your team, your vibe? The guide suggests preparing a short list of standard questions. Ask every candidate the same core questions. That keeps it fair and lets you compare apples to apples. Ask questions that get them talking about their experience related to the skills, not, are you good with difficult customers, but tell me about a time you handled a tricky customer situation. Maybe even a simple practical task if relevant, like basic math. Watch their attitude. Are they on time? Respectful? Do they seem keen, reliable? And crucially, leave time for them to ask you questions. What they ask can tell you a lot about what they care about.
That's a good tip. Their questions are revealing. Okay, interview's done. You've picked someone.
Yeah.
Making the offer. Again, clarity, clarity, clarity. Prevents misunderstandings later. When you make the offer, be explicit. State the job title, the starting pay, the exact hours, the start date. And this is where that framework starts getting built. Put the key terms in writing. Even a simple letter or email confirming the offer is really important.
Perfect segue to the next tool, the management habit. You've hired someone, they've said yes. Now what? How do you manage them well?
Exactly. Tool 2 is all about what happens next. And the first really critical piece the guide highlights is the employment agreement.
Okay, for a really small business, is a formal written agreement essential? Or is a handshake enough?
Well, oral agreements might hold up in some situations, but the guide strongly recommends a written agreement. It just provides so much clarity and helps prevent disputes down the road. It makes everything official.
Right. So what absolutely needs to be in this simple written agreement, thinking specifically about Ghana?
The essentials the guide lists are the employee's full name, their job title, a clear outline of their main duties, the agreed working hours, the salary or wage, details about any probation period, info on leave entitlements, and the notice period needed if either side wants to end the agreement. And importantly, make 2 copies, one for you, one for them, both signed and dated. The guide points to the Labor Act, 2003, ACT 651, as the basis for this.
So it doesn't have to be pages of legal jargon, just clear basics, like that sample of Kojo and Medina.
Exactly. Kojo hired a part-time sales girl. His agreement was basic, used bullet points, specific hours, the pay GHS $800 a month, and the 1-month notice. Simple, clear, written down. That's what matters most.
Got it. Agreement sorted. What's next in managing this new person?
Providing clear job descriptions and expectations. Even if it's just one employee, they need to know exactly what's expected. Take that list of duties you made for hiring, give it to them as their job description. Also, communicate the workplace rules clearly. Punctuality, dress code if you have one, how to report if they're sick, take away the guesswork. Then comes basic onboarding. This isn't about fancy training programs, it's just helping them settle in and get started smoothly. Introduce them to anyone else on the team. Show them around where things are, equipment, safety stuff. Walk them through key processes, opening up, closing down, handling payments, using specific tools. Make sure they have what they need to actually do the job.
Makes sense. Don't leave them feeling lost on day one. What about ongoing management, keeping performance up?
This is where regular check-ins and simple feedback come in. This might be one of the most powerful yet often overlooked habits for SMEs. Consistent communication catches small problems before they blow up and keeps everyone aligned. The guide suggests brief, informal check-ins, maybe daily for a bit with someone new, then maybe 15 minutes once a week. Just ask, how's it going, any challenges, and give feedback regularly. Both positive, you handled that customer really well, and constructive, on that task, maybe try it this way next time. Yeah, keep it specific, focus on behavior, not the person.
Yeah, that specific actionable feedback sounds way more helpful than just good job or do better, like the example, Kwame the carpenter.
Exactly. Kwame spends just 15 minutes each Friday with his apprentice. No long lectures, just specifics. Your sanding this week was excellent, really smooth. Next week, let's focus on getting those cuts straighter. It's timely, focused, helps them improve. That simple consistency is key.
And especially when money's tight, you can't always rely on big bonuses. The guide mentioned motivation beyond salary.
Super relevant for SMEs in Ghana, right? Salary matters, of course, but non-financial things can be huge motivators for loyalty. Fundamentally, show respect. Treat people courteously, listen to them, value them, recognize good work. A simple, sincere thank you, maybe acknowledging it publicly if that's appropriate, or a small gesture, means a lot. If you can, offer learning opportunities, even small ones, like teaching a new skill or letting them try a slightly harder task. And critically, be fair and consistent. Apply rules and opportunities the same way for everyone. That builds trust and value more than money alone sometimes.
It really comes back to building that positive environment, that framework, even if it's just you and one other person.
Right.
Okay, hiring, management. What about the paperwork? Tool 3, keeping staff records.
Ah, yes. Another one of those crucial habits that protects your business. Why do it? Well, mainly for handling payroll correctly, meeting tax obligations, and having documentation if any legal questions pop up. The action's simple. Create and keep a basic file, physical or digital, for every single employee.
And what exactly should be in that file?
The source suggests the key things are their personal details like ID, the signed employment agreement we talked about, clear records of their salary and payments, their SSNIT and GRA registration details, we'll get to that, and a log of any leave they've taken.
Does it mean buying some fancy HR software?
Not at all. The example in the guide is Sandra, with her 3 tailors in Ho. She just keeps a basic folder for each. Inside the agreement, a copy of their ID, their pay slips. That's it. Simple, organized, covers the bases.
Simple, but sounds essential for staying organized and compliant. Which brings us neatly to Tool 4, the compliance habit. Understanding those key labor law basics in Ghana. This is often the bit that feels most intimidating, right?
It can definitely seem complex, but the guide breaks it down into the most important areas for SMEs. The absolute baseline requirement is SSNIT and GRA registration. This isn't optional, it's the law. It's how your employees get their Social Security and pension contributions sorted.
Okay, how does a small business owner actually do that? What's the process?
The source lays out the steps. For SSNIT, Social Security and National Insurance Trust, you need to register your business, then each employee. You can visit a SSNIT office or start online via their website and the employer self-service portal. Once registered, you have to deduct the employee's share, currently 5.5% from their salary each month, add your employer contribution, 13%, and pay the total over to SSNIT, often done electronically now, like via the taxpayer's portal. For income tax, that's PAYE, pay as you earn, you need to deal with the Ghana Revenue Authority, the GRA. Register your business and employees with them. Then you deduct the right amount of income tax based on their earnings and pay that to the GRA. Their website, the GRA site, has info too.
That sounds like, well, a bit of admin work, especially at the start. Do you have to figure it all out yourself?
Not necessarily. The guide mentions Beatrice running her small canteen. She got help from a local accountant to register her 3 staff with both SSNIT and GRA. Using external help for these bits, especially if you're unsure, is often a really smart move. The full guide apparently has helpful links too.
That's good to know. Okay, beyond registration, what other labor law basics are critical?
Working hours and overtime. The Labor Act sets limits usually 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. If you need people to work more than that, you must pay them overtime, usually at a higher rate. So define standard hours in the agreement, keep accurate time records, especially for overtime, and make sure you calculate and pay any overtime correctly. Then there's leave entitlements. Employees in Ghana have legal rights to leave. Key ones are annual leave minimum 15 working days paid after a year, sick leave usually paid, often need a doctor's note for longer periods, and maternity leave, currently 12 weeks paid leave. You need to understand these entitlements and have a simple way to track who's taken what leave when.
And making sure salaries are right involves more than just the basic pay, right? Those deductions.
Exactly. Paying salaries and deductions. Pay on time, consistently. And yes, those mandatory deductions. SSNIT, remit monthly, and PAYE income tax, remit to GRA according to their schedule. You've got to calculate the net pay accurately after deductions, pay the employee on time, and pay the deducted amounts to SSNIT and GRA on time. Providing pay slips showing the breakdown is really good practice too. And finally, another really important area, fair termination procedures. If you have to let someone go, it must follow the rules in the Labor Act and your agreement. Key things. Give the proper notice period, or pay instead of notice. Have a valid reason, like misconduct, poor performance, redundancy handled correctly, and pay everything they're owed. Final salary, leave pay, etc. Unfair termination can lead to legal trouble, which is bad news for any business, especially small ones. So know the rules, document everything, follow a fair process.
Wow, okay, it sounds like knowing the basics and following a clear process is vital. Is this everything covered in the law, though?
Well, this overview from the guide is definitely simplified, as the source itself points out. Labor law can get tricky. For specific situations or complex advice, the recommendation is always to consult the Labor Act 651 itself or get professional guidance. You could reach out to the Labor Department or find a lawyer who specializes in employment law in Ghana. The source actually provides a couple of contact numbers for potential initial queries. 02610-99807 or 050-850-740. It's about knowing the basics and knowing when you need an expert.
Okay, so be aware, follow the steps, and know where to get help if needed. Right, we've covered the main tools: hiring, management, records, compliance. The guide wraps up by stressing just building these good HR habits. What are the most practical, simple things someone listening could do, like today or this week, to get started?
Yeah, it really boils down to breaking it into small, manageable actions. Don't try to do everything at once. 1. Start creating basic templates. Draft a simple job description outline and a basic employment agreement template. Even if you don't need them right now, having them ready is a big win. 2. Commit to keeping employee records. Just set up a basic folder, physical or digital, for each person. Start putting their key docs in there. 3. Make scheduling check-ins a habit. Put 15 minutes in your calendar, maybe weekly, just for that quick chat with your employee or team members. Make it routine. 4. Know your compliance dates. Put SSNIT GRA deadlines on a calendar. Add your business permit renewals too, just be aware of them. 5. Get familiar with the Labor Act. Maybe download a copy or bookmark the relevant government site. Having it as a reference is useful.
Those sound genuinely doable. None require a massive effort up front.
Exactly, and they build on each other over time. The core message from this guide and our deep dive today really is that your people are absolutely crucial to your business success in Ghana. By putting these basic, fair, consistent practices in place, simple systems for hiring, managing, records, compliance, you create a much better working environment. You cut down risks significantly, and you end up with a team that's more motivated and ultimately more productive.
It sounds less like a chore and more like just laying a really solid foundation for the business.
It absolutely is an investment in your business's stability and future growth. And for you, listening right now, maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this, the key is just starting somewhere. Pick one thing.
So what jumps out to you as the most pressing need right now? Is it finally getting that simple employment agreement written up? Maybe taking that first step towards getting SSNIT sorted? Or could it be as simple as just committing to those 15-minute weekly check-ins?
Yeah, as the source material really prompts us to think. Which of these HR tools could help you manage your people better, starting this week? Would that simple agreement, or maybe the check-in schedule, or perhaps finally tackling SSNIT registration make the biggest immediate difference for your business right now?